Welcome to a special edition of the Black Chair. I'm not at the Japanese water gardens and I don't have a chair. I had enough on carrying the tripod up here. I've come out to one of my favourite places. It's actually the nature reserve. It's really quiet, ideal for filming like this. In this video, I'm going to spend some time and answer the questions that people have been asking online. First question. Hello, I put barley straw in my pond, not the liquid extract. I put quite a good lump of it in and it killed off the algae. The fish seemed a bit off. Is it okay for fish in volume? Also, what blanket weed treatment is best value for money, meaning it treats the biggest volume of pond water? We actually covered blanket weed in the Black Chair Part 3, and the treatment that I would definitely recommend that you use is called Blanket Answer. It's absolutely one of the best treatments that you can get for blanket weed. It might not necessarily be the cheapest treatment, but it does work, so it's worth spending a little bit extra and getting the Blanket Answer. It's not actually an expensive treatment anyway. I think it's really quite good value for money. You can get sufficient treatment to do a 2,000 gallon pond for about 15-16 quid. Is there a reason why barley straw would make the fish seem a bit off? I can't imagine why they would be off. Barley straw is used widely for treatment of blanket weed, and some people do have great success with it. One thing possibly to bear in mind though when you're using any treatment is it's always a good idea to make sure that you got plenty of aeration, because some treatments can actually drop the oxygen level in the pond quite a bit, and that potentially could upset the fish. So plenty of aeration whenever you're doing any kind of treatment. That's just a sensible thing to do. This is a question about aerated bottom drains. Apparently a lot of people have been turning away from using them. Why might that be? I've not really noticed that people aren't using aerated bottom drains. They're very popular. The idea is it's a very professional, very simple, clean looking way of introducing air into your pond. The rising column of air is an additional draw on the sediment. It actually draws in the sediment from around the bottom drain and helps you to get more of that sediment out of the pond and through and into your filter system. There's no pipes, no cables or anything like that. The air, do you want to get out of that water? Dog likes it in the water like me. It's a very simple and very effective way of getting some air into your pond, but they can be quite expensive, aerated bottom drains, so maybe that's putting a few people off. And for that reason I've decided that very soon I'm going to do a video about how you can actually make your own aerated bottom drains, so keep a good lookout for that. It's not hard to do, and I think I've got a nice basic plan that anyone could make. A question from a fan in Belgium. Is it possible to put a negative edge in a koi pond? This provides the clearest water surface possible, I believe. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be possible to do a negative edge in a koi pond. It's actually really popular in America. They often build ponds with negative edges. It's just not something that's really caught on in the UK. Or in Europe. The methods that they use in America are often quite different to how it's done in Europe. In Europe you would use a surface skimmer and that basically would do the same thing. Surface skimmers are there to draw in the top layer of water off your pond, and it's quite possible to install one in the wall of most ponds. It draws in the surface water, it prevents you getting that horrible scummy layer on top of your pond, and that scummy layer is very distracting. It will spoil your view of the fish. But if you want to have a go at a negative edge, I don't see why not. Can I use a easy pod lower than the water in my pond? Not easily, you couldn't. There may be some ways that you could set it up, but it would require a very high level of understanding for you to be able to do that. Most filter systems that you see on koi ponds will be installed either gravity fed, which means that you put the filter system on the same level as the water in your pond, and you have a pump on the back end of it, and that water is then pumped back into the pond. Or you raise the filter up at the side, you stick your pump in the pond, and the pump lifts the water up into the filter, and then it falls back into your pond. To run a filter system lower than the water level in your pond is going to be tricky. You could do it if you ran a pressurized filter, like a foam-based filter system, or if you ran a bead filter, for example. But actually running a Nexus or an easy pod filter and running it lower than the water in the pond, that's going to be very difficult to do. Can you answer my question, please? I've got 50 litres of K1 media and it's been running for 3 years with a 100 litre air pump, but it still looks like new. Normally the colour gets darker by time. I've got a drum filter with a backy shower and K1 in the filter system. So I think what they're getting at here is, why has the colour of the K1 stayed the same? Why is it still bright white? I've actually seen filter systems with K1 really quite dark in colour and also perfectly white. It's probably not that it isn't mature. It'll mature, it will get bacteria on it. Just because it looks bright white, it doesn't mean that it's not got bacteria on it, and it doesn't mean that it's not doing the job. Probably what's happening in a lot of ponds is you're getting algae actually growing on the K1, or you're getting solid contaminants building up on it, and it's just naturally darkening. So don't think that just because it's not gone dark that it's not mature or it's not working biologically, because it certainly will be. Where did you get the filter matting offcuts from that you used in the DIY drum filter? Years ago, when that video was made, filter matting was really popular. Occasionally we have filter matting offcuts at the store, and when we get them, they sell really quickly. We bag them up and just sell them. Now, with the advent of K1 and medias like that, it's not so popular, so it's a little bit more difficult to find. But in a DIY filter, you can use foam, you could use old filter brushes, you could use air rollers or plastic bottle tops, any kind of material that you can find that you can put into your own filter will work. Alpha Grog, that's a popular one, that's still available freely, and so is matting. It's just not as widely available as what it used to be. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions for us to answer in the black chair, then put them in the comments below. This weekend we've got a lot of new fish going on sale, and I'm going to be photographing them and getting them straight onto the internet as fast as possible. So make sure you take a good look at those. Next week we'll be back at the Japanese water gardens and we'll have some more black chair questions. Thank you.